Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this extraordinary meeting of Tuesday, 25 June 2024 at the Euroa Community Conference Centre. I am Peter Stevenson, Administrator of Strathbogie Shire Council, and I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters, and we pay respects to the elders past and present and emerging. Tonight we're meeting on the lands of the Tongarong peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose sovereignty here has never been ceded. This public meeting is being streamed live via our website and made available for public access on our website, along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda give effect to the overarching governance principles stated in Section 9.2 of the Local Government Act 2020, and these principles are numbered 1 to 9 on page 2 of the agenda. We welcome the big mass of people tonight in our public gallery. Thanks for the two of you for being here. And also those viewing this meeting through our live stream via our website. This meeting is being held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules. If we have technical difficulties during tonight's meeting, which means we're unable to stream the proceedings to the public, we will continue with the meeting given the public gallery is open. If an officer has a conflict of interest in a matter, they will be asked to leave the meeting, and no discussion on the matter will commence until we are sure they have done so. The person will then be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. CEO Solomon, have we got apologies or leave of absence? Sorry about that.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Yes, John Harvey, Director of Sustainable Infrastructure, is unwell at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Get well, John. Any conflicts of interest to be disclosed? No. Okay, this is my report. So this meeting marks our final council meeting before we bid farewell to CEO Julie Solomon. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tremendous impact you have had, Julie, on this organisation and the community since joining Strathbogie in January 2020, right before the COVID pandemic hit. And I can't begin to imagine how hard it must have been to start as a CEO and guide councillors, staff and the community through such uncertainty. By all accounts, Strathbogie Shire Council support for the community during this time was greatly appreciated. This also set a strong foundation for a resilient and innovative organisation, a foundation that has no doubt been instrumental in helping to guide Strathbogie Shire through the many challenges to come. And Strathbogie has had more than its fair share of those during your tenure. From navigating the complexities of a global pandemic and dealing with major floods and storms to addressing the infrastructure demands of a large rural council with a modest rate base. You managed the difficult dynamics amongst the former councillor group, including the appointment of multiple municipal monitors, the suspension of the councillors and the installation of an administrator. Despite these challenges, you've achieved remarkable results, including saving $2 million on the Violet Town landfill rehabilitation by successfully lobbying the Environmental Protection Authority to reclassify the site as low risk. You oversaw major community-driven infrastructure projects like the Rockies Footbridge, the Nagambie Foreshore Walk, streetscape enhancements in local towns, which continue, and the establishment of new toilet facilities. You have lent into difficult and sometimes unpopular discussions such as school crossing funding, waterways management, and the need for civic accommodation improvements, to name just a few recent ones in my time here. You've had difficult conversations about Kerwin's Bridge and Chinaman's Bridge, and you've led advocacy on these and many other topics. You have fostered cost-saving partnerships with Mansfield, Benalla and Murrindindi councils, as well as a tourism collaboration with Mitchell Shire and Greater Shepparton City Council. Your implementation of best practice communication strategies, including a 120-strong community panel and the Pitch My Project initiative, has funded over 30 major projects throughout the Shire. And this is just a fraction of the impact you've had, all of which has left Strathbogie in a much stronger position than when you started. And your passion for working with and for communities is evident in all that you do. Your commitment to driving quality service delivery and to exploring creative and sustainable outcomes for the community is commendable. And you've also led significant organisational change and helped create a strong leadership team to drive Strathbogie forward in coming years. On a personal note, your professionalism and collegiality have been deeply appreciated. Your commitment to good governance, transparency and putting the community first is remarkable. The leadership, guidance and professionalism you've demonstrated have been instrumental in steering Strathbogie towards a better future. And in the words of Nelson Mandela, it also always seems impossible until it is done. Sorry, Nelson. While your time here is done, please note that your contributions here will leave a lasting legacy for many years to come. Thank you, Julie, for your exceptional contributions. We wish you all the best in your future endeavours, wherever and whatever they may lead you. Well done.
Mr. Commissioner, could you spend standing over for a moment so that I make a small presentation?
I will do so.
Appreciate
Thanks, Robin. Yeah.
Julie Solo, thank you for your service to Strathbogie Shire, Strathbogie community, and to the team of 8 councillors, which I had a part of being elected to and served under you. I found you a fair executive officer, and one that never treated me in a manner that I have been treated like CEOs in the past. So I admire and thank you for your service to our community. I ask that you have a very happy and enjoyable retirement, and perhaps this small memento hopefully represents my taking liberty to represent my colleagues and present to you something that I think and hope you will treasure. It's appropriately adorned retirement. Julie, my pleasure. And thank you, CEO. No. Chief Administrator.
The one and only. You're welcome. And it was a nice gesture, Robin. Nice gesture. Okay, we'll resume standing orders now. I'm with you there. Thank you. And indeed, it's going to be a different place without you here, Julie. We all know that. Okay, officer reports. We only have a couple to deal with tonight, and we go to corporate 8.4.1, Pitch My Project recommendations for funding. And Executive Manager Scott, may we have a summary of this report, please?
You certainly may. So the Pitch My Project initiative supports the participatory budget principles in the Local Government Act and also in Council's engagement policy and strategy. It's now in its 4th year, and it provides an opportunity for the community to submit projects for consideration. Projects are then assessed against the guidelines and released for a public vote. This year there were 15 projects that went out to the community and they were asked to rank them from 1 to 15. There were 452 votes in total, 221 of them online and 231 from survey stations across the Shire. So all up, 6 projects were recommended for funding, with one from each of the strategic focus areas in the council plan. Just to note, since finalising the report, there's been a slight change in one of the projects. So just bear with me. So it's been brought to our attention this afternoon there could potentially be some issues with native vegetation associated with the Strathbogie Walking Path project. As such, officers propose an alternate recommendation to the one printed on page 5 and 6 of tonight's agenda, and the papers to read as follows: that Council 1 allocate 300,000 to the Pitch My Project initiative in the 24-25 budget. 2, fund 6 community projects that align to the strategic focus areas in the 2021 to 2025 council plan. These being A, 50,000 for Euroa Strathbogie Shire Art Trail, B, 50,000 for Strathbogie Walking Path, with the addition of the words provisionally allocated based on seeking further advice and direction from the Department of Environment, Energy and Climate Action regarding native vegetation impacts. C, 50,000 for Euroa Branding Project Stage 2, D, 50,000 for Longwood Nature Play Space Stage 2, and E, 50,000 for Avenel Memorial Hall, and F, 50,000 for Ruffy Tablelands Centre Veranda. And 3, authorise officers to write to all 15 Pitch My Project applicants to inform them of the outcome and thank them for their participation.
Thanks very much, Executive Manager Scott. And thank you to all of the groups who put forward projects for consideration. And thanks for everybody who took part in the voting online and via the survey stations across the Shire. This is an innovative way to encourage the community to help prioritise projects for action and supports the principles of deliberative engagement in the Local Government Act. And I'd not seen the level of this level of engagement in my time as a councillor, and I think it is terrific that that the community actually can get a say as deep as this. As I say, in my time, and it was a time past, well past, but council has made all the decisions and just hope that we got it right with the community. This way, we actually know that these are the priorities that the community is telling us. So I think it's a fantastic approach. And these, for a shire with a budget which is relatively small compared to many others, these are not small numbers. So they're not insubstantial projects that are being supported here. Now, it is difficult to find a way to balance input from communities with very small populations compared to those with larger ones, which we have in the Shire. And so we don't want to disadvantage either, but it is difficult, quite difficult to get a level playing field for all. Thank you to the council staff who worked on this project. It is a very large and at times complex initiative, particularly talking about trying to get that, if you like, that stratification of the voting system so that smaller locations aren't disadvantaged. And it is a small team that's delivering it. So well done to all involved, and congratulations to those who did get projects up. And might I say, to those organisations that didn't get a project up on this occasion, don't stop trying. I do note also the words of Executive Manager Scott and the advice that the officers have put an alternative. Part of the recommendation is an alternate to what you would see in your papers, and that's an important thing to highlight, because it's no point having a project. It's no point saying a project's funded if we can't deliver it, and that Strathbogie Walking Path, while it's definitely in our list of want to do, it's there in the, well, as will be said, provisionally allocated. We just have to make sure that we can actually deliver it, and we're not going to be stymied by DECA. I'm not going to read the full department, But yeah, we want to make sure that we can actually deliver it. So thanks again to everybody that put in a submission, and don't stop trying next year. So as was pointed out, the recommendation is in 3 parts, with a number of, and in part 2 has a number of dot points as well on page 5 and 6 of tonight's agenda. So I'll just reiterate that item 1 is in the agenda, as the agenda is written. 2, fund 6 community projects. That's the same. 2A is the same. C, D, E, and F are the same as printed in the agenda. The only change is, as again, Executive Manager Scott pointed out, that the $50,000 for Strathbogie walking path is provisionally allocated based on seeking that further advice and direction from the Department of Environment, Energy and Climate Action regarding native vegetation impacts. So, and then 3 is also as written in the agenda. Yes, there wasn't another. No, that was all. So I'm comfortable with that alternate recommendation. I'm comfortable that the process has been as set out and has come to a good outcome, and therefore I'll move that the recommendation, including that alternate part, becomes the resolution and as such is carried. Now, moving to 8.4.2, adoption of the 2024-25 budget and fees and charges and declaration of rates and charges for the 12 months ending 30 June 2025. And Director Tingay, may we please have a summary of this report?
Thank you, Chair. Back in April, you will recall that Council endorsed the release of the draft 24-25 budget and fees and charges for community feedback. At the time of closing of submissions, we received 22 written submissions. 18 were in relation to the draft budget and 4 were in relation to the draft fees and charges. We heard and Council heard from 8 submitters at an extraordinary Council meeting held on the 4th of June in support of their submissions. Pending the adoption of the budget this evening, a written response will be provided to each of the submitters. Since the release of the draft budget, a number of changes have been made as new information has come to light. In particular, and there is a summary within the report, there has been a positive increase in the stage 4 supplementary valuations, a positive decrease in depreciation figures, a negative increase in expense in relation to additional funds for swimming pool operations, and that was subject to our council report at our meeting last week. Negative increase in expenditure for the inclusion of investigation for pedestrian and cycling access, carry forward of the local roads and community infrastructure program. So that was a carry forward of projects that were already committed this financial year into the 24-25 financial year. I would like to highlight that the draft budget contained capital expenditure to also undertake a significant drainage improvement project at Hovel Street in Avenel, and that inclusion was subject to the receival of external grant funding. Unfortunately, the discontinuation of the local roads and community infrastructure program has been realised, and as such, external funding at this point has not been received for the project, and subsequently the income and project has been removed from the final budget that is presented to you this evening. However, officers will continue to advocate for external funding in future years to support the ongoing need for this project. In relation to the draft fees and charges, an amendment has been made to clarify the higher charge, an increase which particularly relates to the Violet Town Recreational Reserve in relation to their seasonal booking. So that amendment has been made. There is a recommendation commencing on page 15 of tonight's agenda, which incorporates the obviously the adoption of the budget, the fees and charges, and also sets out the rates and charges for this coming financial year for the year ending 30th of June 2025. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Tingay. Firstly, I'd like to thank those who had submitted submitted feedback about the budget for taking the time to do that. Your engagement is appreciated. Now, it might not, if what you suggested didn't get adopted, it might not seem like that, but it certainly is appreciated. If we had a bigger bucket, we'd want to do more than we can. But I guess it's my job while I'm here to work out what I wants and what I needs. And when you've got a lot of needs, a lot of the wants have to wait. And even some of those needs we can't meet. We know that. So it's prioritising the needs as best we can before we can even consider a lot of the wants. That said, this budget is one that's sound and responsible. A number of key highlights of the 2024-25 budget include a 2.7% increase in rates aligning with the Fair Go rate system set by the Victorian Government, a 4% rise in waste collection and disposal charges due to increased costs in the waste sector, the removal of the $32 tree management levy, whilst maintaining a $1.2 million spend for tree maintenance, and the allocation of $37.8 million for operating expenditure covering essential services such as roads, drains, parks, and community development. I'd also like to highlight a number of new initiatives which include the preparation of a 4-year council plan post-election, LED street lighting upgrades pending grants, road safety audits and funding for strategic planning studies. A $9.9 million capital works program is also outlined, supporting projects such as female-friendly facilities at Longwood Recreational Reserve, and that's subject to external grant funding, which we're waiting an outcome on that, road rehabilitation and corporate information technology enhancements. We have heard through the draft budget consultation process some concern regarding the introduction of event-related fees and charges. And the introduction of these fees and charges was not a decision taken lightly and certainly shouldn't be seen as diminishing the value of community-led events, but it does aim to recognise the direct financial impact the delivery of these events has on Council. Council supports community-led events through Council's community grant program and can waive fees on occasion. Also, in recognition of the significant economic uplift that some events provide the community, strategic funding partnerships can be entered covering multiple years. So on that, think about whether you in future will want to talk to our team about those strategic partnerships or look at grants that may cover some of those fees. The introduction of as I said, the introduction of these fees and charges was not taken lightly, but aims to strike a balance between responsible financial management and meeting community expectations. Overall, the budget aims to sustain and enhance community assets while delivering essential services, reflecting the Council's commitment to sustainability and community wellbeing. And I'll just make a couple other points. I know that there are some areas within the municipality where we were asked to provide capital works, and in some occasions, or on some of those requests, were on land owned or managed other than council land. And again, it gets back to what we can really achieve. If it's on someone else's land, where it's a difficult thing to spend money that on that land when we have other assets that we do have responsibility for that need that attention. And well, look, I'll leave that at that. Well, the other thing was to say that there are probably two significant things that a council does. The two most important decisions that councils make is the hiring of a CEO and the adoption of a budget. So this is an important night. Budget night is an important night. Thank you again to those who are here in the gallery, and for those that are watching at home or elsewhere. And please continue to provide feedback to the council each and every budget year. All of that said, I'll say thanks to all of the staff for putting this budget together, because that's not an easy thing to do. There are a lot of moving parts. So well done to the team. And that said, I'll move that the recommendation on pages 15 and 16, 15, yeah, I think they say 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, but 15 through to 19 inclusive becomes the resolution, and as such is carried. That is the business. Now, the next ordinary meeting of Strathbogie Shire Council is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, the 16th of July, 2024 at the Nagambie Lakes Regatta Centre, commencing at 6 p.m. Now, that while it might be an ordinary meeting, all of our meetings are extraordinary. Is that right, Tom? Being no further business, I'll declare the meeting closed at 6:27 p.m. Thank you very much indeed.